Okay. Hey guys, I've been wanting to make this video for a while, but I could not find my notes, and I just found my notes. I'm so happy. I was about to do it without my notes, but I just found my notes, so I don't have to go through all that. But I am going to show you quickly how I study the Bible, because a lot of people ask me, where do I get that from? Where do I get my understanding from? That's not in the Bible. Yeah, it is. If you know how to look up the meaning of the words in the Bible, the words have double, sometimes triple meanings. Folks, and you have to go down to its earliest meaning to get the actual understanding of it. But this is, like I said, we're doing, this one is for just the first commandment. Now, excuse me, a lot of people say that the Ten Commandments came from the 42 laws of my head, which, honestly, at one time I did think that, but knowing what I know now, I kind of questioned that. And I'll explain why uh, when I go into the first verse, but I want to pull it up in the actual Bible. And the Bible I use is the New Jerusalem Bible. I was on a Bible study line once and heard about the New Jerusalem Bible, and when I got it, I just fell in love with the New Jerusalem Bible. And I am no longer part of that Bible study, but to each his own. Everything has its place in our life. So at that point in time, it had its place in my life. I am no longer. I've moved on since then. Okay. So the Ten Commandments. Should not kill. I'm trying to get the first one. Okay. Where it says, "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make a graven. You shall not make a carven image or anything likeness of heaven or earth above, beneath the waters, or under the waters." Okay. We're going to go right there. Exodus 20, verses 1 to 4. We're going to stop right there. Because, and this is how the New Jerusalem say it, but in order to understand, there's not two versions of these, but in order to understand this, you need the King James Version. This is why a lot of people say that there's no other version, holy or sacred or whatever, but the King James Version, and that's because you need the King James Version to go with this. But in saying that, you have to know how to read this. Reading this is, most people read this like they read a dictionary, and the way we read dictionaries are wrong, and I'm going to explain. Thou shalt have no other graven images. The word graven. In here is, I already have the number, I don't have my notes on the side, I already have the number, is 6459 in this book, with the Hebrew writing, so I'm going to go there. And I'm doing this because I want y'all to see exactly how you're supposed to study the Bible in order to get the actual meaning that was meant. I want to go. Hey, y'all getting a little too loud. Okay. So, yes, I need y'all to quiet down. So, I'm going to go there. And excuse me, I'm not sure if I'm going to edit this video or not, so you may have all this in here while I'm trying to look for the page. Because editing is a whole nother freaking issue with uploading with YouTube. Okay. Let me see if y'all can see this. Do I have a highlighter? Yeah. Let me highlight it real fast to make it easier for y'all to pick it out. And I don't think I'll ever be able to refill any of my books because I highlight a lot. I haven't highlighted in this book yet, but I'm going to now for the purpose of this video. 6459. Okay. This is just so it's easier for y'all to see, if y'all can see it at all. You see that? The orange part? Now, when you look at that, you normally see this number. But if it gives you another number that it comes from, go to that number. Go to that number. Also, go to these numbers. These are other books. Right there, that SWAT, which is the lexicon, and the BDB, that stands for Bragg something, or Briggs something, I forgot what it is. But the BDB is really hard to get a hold of the books. It's kind of out of my price range, but if you look online, you can find that number for someone doing another study who pulled that, and you normally can find it Normally, if you look at online, you normally find that BDB number when you put it in, and it'll come up in other people's essays and stuff of what they wrote. Or it won't directly come up like the book, or like how you can do a concordance online. It won't come up like that. It just is not that easy to find, and there's a reason for that. Because that normally has another meaning that's totally opposite of what this book says. So it says you should have another graven image. And it says it comes from 6458. So instead of flipping, it says from 6458, the Hebrew word, and from the twat number 1788, and that's the lexicon. And when you go there, you get the word. When you go there, it comes from the Hebrew word daishan. I'll probably say it wrong. I got D-I-Y-S-H. I'm going to say O-N. I write fast and sloppy, y'all. So just show you this is my notes. I write fast and sloppy, y'all. So that Hebrew word might not be spelled right. But from H1758. Now, when you go to that word, this is H1758, that word means mountain goat. And so when you understand it, you understand this is not just saying don't have any other graven image. It's saying a specific image not to have. And that word means mountain goat. So understanding that, I just want to stop that right there. Because in understanding that when it's speaking of a graven image, it's specifically speaking of a mountain goat, then you can understand that the mountain goat they're talking about is Pan, and Pan is a Greek god. So when this came about, when they made this, it wasn't saying you couldn't have other images. It was saying they didn't want you worshiping Pan. Now, during that time, this is when the Greeks and Egypt and all of them, they was in Egypt together. And of course, with anything, when someone wants to preserve their culture, they start making rules so for you not to go to other cultures. So they start making rules. This came from them making rules. They didn't want you to go to the Greek culture. They wanted to preserve their culture because they saw everything starting to blend. Now, in Egyptian culture, they did only worship. In Egyptian culture, they did only worship one God, but they had many aspects of this God that they used and called upon, depending on what they needed. Just like you have the angels, we know. Just like you have the angels, you know that there's one. And I'm using the word God because that's the name people are most familiar with, the terminology. But the word God actually means to invoke. But I'm using that as the terminology that people are used to. And I'm not speaking of any gender, whether guys are male or female. But when you do that, there's God, and then there's the angels, and that's the different aspects that we use to call upon to do different things. So with that, with the graven image, they're talking about specifically the god Pan, and Pan is a Greek god. And I'm not saying that Pan is a bad god. It's not. This is more about preserving the culture, more so than doing something that's wrong. They wanted to preserve the culture of that time, and that's where this came about. Now, when you understand this, and what it really means, this is where I have conflicted ideas of whether these sets actually came from the 42 laws of Mayat. But it is possible that the 42 laws of Mayat did influence these. Yes, it is. But to say go for back, broke for broke, it's kind of hard to say that when you go deep into what the word actually means. And that's just the first commandment. And I want to stop right there because I really wanted to do it to show people. I really wanted to do that to show people where my ideas and where my knowledge and where my understanding of the Bible comes from. I do not go outside the Bible, folks. I showed you the Bible. I showed you the coordinates. I showed you the other numbers, which is the lexicon and the Briggs. I forgot what it said. BDB stands for. Where when you go to those two books, and I showed you how to read it. Don't always go with that little paragraph. Go with the original root of the word, and then find the other connections to that word, which will go to the older meanings of the word, and then you'll get the actual understanding of it. That's how you actually study and read the Bible. And I wanted to point it out because, like I said, people always wonder where I get my ideas from. This ain't what the Bible says. No, it's not what it literally says. But when you go and look up the words, that is what it means. So once you see it in new eyes, a new understanding of what it means from the origin of the word, then you start to understand what happened, and you start to understand the time of what was going on, and you start to see that these are not rules that you were meant to originally follow, or that you could not work with other aspects of the one source. It never says that. And actually, the word worship actually means to honor, and we are to honor. And it's to say they don't want you. It's that one you're saying it doesn't want you honor specifically Pan. It's not saying anybody else but Pan, because Pan was very big back then. Pan is a nature spirit back then, and they just really wanted to, like I said, wanted to preserve the culture Because when, like I said, when other cultures come in and start to blend, in order to keep a culture pure, or at least to keep the history pure, so that people understand, you have to make up certain laws or certain rules to preserve the culture. And that's really what this is starting about, to preserve the culture. Not that you're going to hell and all this other stuff, and I can break down hell and all that other stuff for you too. But I won't do this video. But it doesn't mean you're going to hell and all this other stuff. These are rules set up to preserve the culture of that time. And that is my understanding from my knowledge from my research, and I just showed you how I researched. And another thing, while I'm doing this, I am going to let you on another secret, a big secret. Well, it's not a big secret if you really know how to research the words. But the Bible verse where Jesus supposedly said, "Love your neighbor as you love yourself." Now, Jesus supposedly said, "Love your neighbor as you love yourself," and most people think that, oh, you're supposed to love your neighbor unconditionally, you're supposed to accept anything, well, not necessarily accept anything from them, but you're supposed to love them, help them, or distance yourself from them, but, you know, never do any harm or whatever to your neighbor. First of all, love means desire, so you're supposed to desire your neighbor as you love yourself. But like I just showed you, when you look up and research these words, the history of these words and where these numbers come from, where these words come from, that word neighbor is a purposely misprint. That word neighbor actually means self-hanging. So that scripture says, "Love yourself hanging as you love yourself." Now that doesn't kind of make sense, so let's update it in today's terms. What is the self-hanging? Hanging yourself, your death. So basically what it's telling you, to love your death as much as you love yourself, as much as you love your life. What does that mean? I'm sorry, my bro's always showing my videos. I'm sorry, guys. What does that actually mean, though? That means not to fear death. Specifically, it means not to fear death. It does not mean you have to love or desire everybody. No, it does not. That when you research it, that is a total outright lie, miscommunication, a purposeful miscommunication. It means not to fear your death. Why? Because we are spirit. We are spiritual beings. If we leave this body, we just go back into the spiritual realm, and we come back in another body. If we choose to come back. That is all. This body is just meant to have a physical experience, and we create the spirit experiences based off our perceptions. The problem is when we get here, there's already other perceptions here that we grow up in and get caught in, and we have to learn to find our ways to create our own perception so we can have our own experiences, so we can actually have the experience that we came here to have, so we can either move on or have another experience of something different. So with that, like I said, that one means basically do not fear death. There's no such thing as death. Death is an illusion. Death is an illusion. There's no such thing as death. If you watch a flower die, in that flower is seeds and pollen and other stuff for other things to grow. It's transition, basically. It's transition to something new. And a lot of us has been taught to fear it, and we should never fear death. Never. So yeah, that is, I don't even know what to call this video. I'll figure it out and put it in the title. That's why I don't even know what to call it. I just wanted to explain how I get my knowledge of the Bible, where it comes from, and how I do study the Bible, because most people think my theories are just out there somewhere, and I just downloaded them from some loony bin somewhere, and I didn't. It's right there in your books. All you gotta do is have the right books and read them. It's all right there. So with that, I'm gonna shut this down and say,